Mighty Nine, as you gather here on the wet decks of the ship, still rolling with the ocean as the storm batters onward, you look down upon the scattered bits of blood and your unmoving allies.
Could you just...
I'm going to walk over.
I'm going to run over.
Quickly.
This is why are you walking?
Quickly.
Come on,
Kind of quickly cast Gentle Repose really quickly.
Okay.
Quickly detecting magic. Do I see anything inside Ford?
2 rounds.
Yeah.
You do not see anything.
That's a bonus action.
I will say for the purposes of this, there is nothing is emanating an aura.
And then taking the diamond and pushing Revivify as quickly as possible.
Okay. So I've rolled this privately in the past because I'd misremembered my own rules. So I'm going to have you, which is part of the intended design, to go ahead and roll a d20 for me and add your spellcasting modifier.
I'm going to be holding on to Ford's hand.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to do anything in the time it took me to do that?
I'm going to reach over and try to cast the same thing on Orly because I don't know how much time I have on Orly.
So you have a diamond as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to keep
300
water.
gold.
Where's my spellcasting?
It's your wisdom modifier.
Oh, wisdom modifier.
Last episode was land by Ford, so I guess I'm sitting him up towards Jester.
And I'll take his other hand.
Okay.
Just have to hold on to him.
Wisdom modifier.
Come on, Caduceus.
Don't suck. Come on. Don't be a dick. Okay, that's 11.
That's an 11.
With your modifier?
Why would...
Okay. Because Ford had not previously died. That leaves the DC at a certain number. And so as you focus and pushing the diamond down towards where the most gaping wound is, you watch as it kind of slowly turns to dust within the wound and itself become almost a congealed, like grainy material into the exposed blood. There's a moment of pause before the divine energy you channel through the Wild Mother creates a mess of vines that begin to grow from the wound and wrap around his torso. As the vines begin to condense and create a small nest or cocoon above where the wound is, you watch as they turn bright green, then turn brown and die and wither. The leaves of the vines immediately crumbling and decaying to dust. And as they do, leaving the wound itself partially healed. And you pause for a moment, and you hear the breath begin to come back into the lungs.
Cure wounds level 3.
Go ahead and roll for that.
I reach down and I kiss Ford on the forehead, and I immediately spin around and cast Revivify on Orly.
Okay, you may join the table again.
Is he technically unconscious?
Revivify?
Caduceus is gonna do it.
You've done a lot tonight.
I would recommend holding his hand. This may hurt.
Or his abs.
Or his.
Hold my hand, Ford.
Just a second. What are we doing?
We're just gonna try something.
Have you ever gotten a tooth pulled?
Yes.
It's like that.
That didn't feel very good.
Well,
Then hold my hand. You can squeeze it as hard as you want.
Do you want to bite down on something? You can use my bow staff.
This is making me
You
feel.
want to bite on the bow staff? Oh, it's a little big. That's really big.
do you want me to tell you a joke to lighten the mood?
Take a swig from the flask.
I have the both of in my hand.
Okay, you'll be fine.
Just for added bonus, I'm going to cast this at like 6th level.
Fuck you!
So you're casting Greater Restoration?
Yep.
I'm gonna cast Tasha's hideous laughter on him.
On Ford?
Yeah, just so he's laughing while this happens.
Okay, roll a wisdom saving throw, Ford.
Love that Joker.
18.
Oh,
18.
Well, I'll still tell you the joke anyway. Why did Captain Tusktooth start smoking cigarettes at the dock?
Why?
Peer pressure.
I think everyone takes psychic damage at that point.
Didn't work. He didn't laugh. Everyone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take the residuum, and I'm just gonna pulse it through you and see what happens, and give it a
mark 100 gold's worth of residuum off of your list.
my level 6 for the day.
As you concentrate, Caduceus, and reach out towards Ford's chest, you find your vision darken. And your instinct immediately is that fight or flight, that fear impulse kick in. But you find yourself surrounded in warmth, like you were dropped into a warm bath. Caduceus, as you concentrate, the same lichen that grows upon your armor begins to grow from your fingertips and find its way gathering at the center of Ford's chest. This kind of bright pink plume of fungus begins to just grow and generate around the sternum. In you, in this moment with your eyes closed, that warmth, you feel this twinge of pain right there that begins to grow and burn and sear. And you feel his hand squeeze tightly. Nausea begins to kick in, wave after wave, as this horrible pain begins to just burn from the inside. It is awful. It begins to come in such heavy waves that you find yourself falling to your knees, and that nausea is burning heavily within the depths of your chest and belly. Caduceus, as you hold tightly, you watch as Caduceus falls to his knees and begins to just shudder. All of you begin to grow nervous with what is happening, especially with how now, barely recovering from the edge of death, he seems to be convulsing in the way that he is.
You're hurting him.
I'm gonna link my arm in his arm just to keep him there and to keep him upright and safe.
Okay. The pain begins to entirely consume your perspective. The warmth isn't there. The darkness is barely something you could concentrate on. It is just the pain, and it feels like a burning, white-hot poker right in the center of your chest, moving up towards your sternum, up to your clavicle, and as the nausea kicks in, you find yourself retching. You watch as Ford suddenly doubles over and vomits what seems to be gallons of frothy seawater onto the deck of the ship. This horrible, guttural, all muscles tensing vomit. And as the seawater splashes onto it with a heavy, you see a singular cloven crystal.
Don't touch it. Somebody pick it up with an object and let's put it in the bag as quickly as possible.
Your vision returns.
Take it off my sash and scoop it up and tie it off.
Let's put it.
I hold back his little teeny man bun.
Holy shit!
Put it in the bag as soon as.
You do notice on the lead one, in the middle of the chest, there is a familiar single yellow tattoo of an eye.
Does it look like the Avantika's tattoo?
I mean, it's similar, but like the design's different. But it's a similar type of, a very much a tattoo scarring experience that is part of a worship or symbolism for a familiar entity.
Did you have one of those tattoos?
I did, but you don't want to see where it is. It's very painful.
Right on the taint.
Yep, right on the in-between-us. Just
Whoa.
had to hold my ankles and ride
Really
the
did it,
lightning.
actually.
Yeah, just
Oh, that's right. There's no machines.
Call it a
just a couple of times that orb came up and swallowed it back down.
5 years, everybody.
The art that's gonna come out of that one.
Oh, no. Hopefully a gift.
I don't know.
Chiseled as it was described.
So it's
Might want to bite down on this.
Boy, that was a 2-minute detour, guys.
Yeah, we needed a good laugh.
You hear a horn go off. It's everything.
That's it.
Sure.
It's all about growth.
Slow guttural. Yeah. I hate you all so much.
It'll pass, man. Just give us 2 minutes, it'll pass.
That was a good one, though. That was good.
Guys, I don't want to fight a fucking sea dragon. Okay.
No, 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 no!
Okay. But the fourth day or so of traveling here, as you're crossing around the reef and starting to head upward in a northern swing towards Rumblecusp, that you, kind of keeping a watch towards where the back of the ship is, you can see there's a small, looks almost like a piece of land that's kind of breaching the surface of the water. And you're like, oh, it's like a small, maybe part of the reef behind, but it's keeping pace.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Captain, we're being followed by a tiny island.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Said we're being followed by a tiny island.
Would I have any recollection of
I'm going back and look at it.
Nothing comes to mind, and you both watch this tiny island is gaining.
How close?
And the water around it starting to rise as it cuts a swath through the waters. As you kind of look over and you're called to the edge and you glance over and you can see it, and you've heard tales of certain entities of various types that are spoken of in mythology, of people that traverse the waters of the city and ocean and seas beyond. This looks indeed like an island, but just below the surface you can see limbs pushing through the waves. And as it continues to go closer and closer, and you meet these thoughts, these myths, these tales that you've heard across the Lucidian Ocean and the Sylvain Islands, you see the snout rise, pointed, the nostrils flare. As you realize you are being chased by a dragon turtle. And that's where we're going to...
Chicago, and it's like the monster I want to see and not see at all. Oh no!